Hey everybody, Christina here. Okay, we are gonna take a little drive through the Excel 1-2 now. And so what I have on the screen is the Excel 1-1, and we're just gonna start. Let me see what step number this is gonna start us on. Okay, perfect. We're gonna start on step number 2. The first step is all about saving the document, etc. So step number 2 asks us to select cell H5, and it says we're going to click the auto sum button and then press enter to accept our range. So auto sum is over on the editing group of your home tab. I'm just going to click that, click auto sum. And then you can see we've got our screen tip here and we've got our auto sum. And we're just going to click enter to accept that total. Our result is 31, which is correct. And it asks us then to type total into that cell and press enter. And when we do that, our formatting carries over for us. Then we're going to select cell D19 and we're going to double click the auto sum button, which is on our home tab again. And we're going to insert that sum function with our cells D5 to D18. So double clicking that, it puts my total in, and up in the formula bar, you can see what the formula is. So that's just one way that you can note what was the formula you just entered. Next, we're going to calculate the average number of days by month. This is step number 3. And we're going to go to cell D20 and we're going to click that auto sum button. But instead of auto sum this time, we're going to click on average. Now, here's one thing to note. When we click average, you'll see that the total days is included in that calculation. We don't want to include the total days in our average because that's going to skew our data. To edit your formula, you can just click in on your screen tips line and you can change that D19 to D18. Now, when I did that, you can see that my highlighted area moved up one cell. And so now my average is only going to be considering D5 all the way down to D18. And I can press enter, and that gives me 4.5 is my average there. Next, we're going to copy functions using our fill handle. We already know how to do the fill handle. So we're going to activate or select cell H5. And if you remember, our fill handle is the little crosshairs. And we're going to basically just take that down to, let's see here, cell 19. Okay, there we go. Perfect. And then we're going to select cells D19 to D20, and we're going to point that fill handle with cell D20. All right, and so then we're going to move to step C and number 4. It asks us to select cell D19 and D19 to D20. And what we're going to do is use our fill handle, which is that little crosshair, and we're going to just drag that all the way to the end. And what that does is it copies our formula. Now, steps E and F on number 4 are just informational steps. You're not actually doing anything. What it's asking us to do is just look at or highlight cell E19, and it's just showing you that you can see the formula up top. And then when we select E20, we can see that that formula is an average formula. And so again, that's literally just 2 steps that just ask you to take a look at the difference in the way those formulas look. Okay, next we're going to select cells D20 to H20. So let's go, D20. And if you do what I just did, if something like that happens, just press escape on your keyboard. It's not a big deal. So we're going to do D20 all the way over to H20. And we're going to look for our number format group, which is in this drop down here. Don't hit your launcher, but just do your drop down, and we're just going to choose number. And what that does is it formats it automatically to 2 decimal points for us. Then we're going to select A4 all the way down to H4. A4, oops, wrong way, A4 to H4. And our instructions ask us to bold that. So once we click the little B up in the font section, that highlights for us, or excuse me, bolds for us. Then we're going to select cells A1 and A2, and we're going to increase our font size to 16, and we can do that in our font box. Then we're going to select A2 cell, and it asks us to edit the label display to first period instead of first quarter. So you can change it in your formula bar, or if you double click, you can also change it right there on the spreadsheet. Okay, and then you just press enter when you've got that information entered. Okay, next up, we're going to adjust our column width. And to do this, step number 6 is where we are. We're going to point point to column B until we get this little up and down arrow. So if you look at column B, you see how I have that little arrow. We're going to drag that over to include column C. So we've highlighted column B and C. Now we're going to just double click the border. So I'm just going to kind of put my little crosshairs on the border between C and D. And when I get that, I'm just going to double click. And what that does, you can see it changed. Let me do undo so you can see the difference there. So you can see that it changed the width, or it auto fit my width of my column to the labels and the information that are in those columns. Okay, next we're going to do the same thing, or well, a little bit different, but similar. We're going to highlight column D all the way to H, and we're going to click the Format button and then the column width from the menu. So over in your cells area on your home tab, over to the right, we're going to click Format, and then we're going to choose column width, which is the third one down. And our instructions say that we're going to choose or type 7 for the column width, and then we click OK. You can see that edited or formatted that information for us. Next, we're going to change the row height for rows 4, 19, and 20. So to do that, we're going to select row 4 in the row heading all the way over to the left of your screen. We're going to hold down the control key, and then we're going to click on the 19th row and the 20th row. So now that we have 4, 19, and 20, what we're going to do is we're going to choose the right click on the number 4, and we're going to change the row height, which is down toward the bottom. And our row height is going to be 24, and we can click OK or press enter on the keyboard. So we've now changed, let me unclick that. You can see that our these fields are a little bit different sized as far as their height. Next, we'll move on to step number 8. So this asks us to select cells A1 through H2. So remember on your ranges, your first entry A1 is that first on the top left cell, and then that second entry in your range is the bottom right hand. So we've got A1 to H2 highlighted, and we're going to click the alignment launcher. So your alignment group on your homepage has a little launcher here. We're going to click that launcher, and our instructions ask us to do the text alignment under horizontal. We're going to center this across the selection. So what this is doing is it's going to center the words that we have there, perfect vacation rentals and rental days by property first period. It's going to center it across the selection that I've highlighted when I click OK. So you can see that lines that up nicely. Next, we're going to right click row heading 13, which is over here. So when I right click that, I have an option to insert, and that is going to insert a row above for me, and it gives us some information to type in here. Okay, our weekend cottage, then it says press tab, type Walker in the cell. And then it says we're going to have Minnesota. You can use your drop-down list or you can type it in. So if you want to use the drop-down list, again, you can just click right-click the cell and then choose Pick from drop-down list, and then you can choose MN for Minnesota. Next, we'll move on to step G for number 9, and it asks us to select cell D13, and then we're going to type some information in there. So 3344, and then when we press enter or our arrow key, you can see that we got a 14 auto populated for us. That's because earlier we had copied the formulas in this line. So any data that we put in to the sheet is going to copy, or it's going to use that formula for us. All right, we're going to move on to step number 10, which is where we're basically going to just add some borders, add some fill color, and we're going to align things a bit differently. So our first step, letter A, says, let's choose cells A4 to H21. So A4 all the way down to H21. And then it says to click our border arrow, which is in our font group. So we're going to click that little down arrow. And we're going to select all borders. And so what this does is it's going to put borders around every single piece of information that we have in our sheet here. And it makes it look a little bit like a table. Excuse me. Next, we're going to choose A4 through H4. And we're going to, let's see here, what does it say? We're going to click the arrow with the fill color button. And so the fill color is in your font group. It's the little paint bucket. And it asks us to fill that with blue, accent 1, lighter 80%. So I'm going to fill that and see it put that nice blue color in there for us. And then we're going to select A4. So we'll select that cell. Now we're going to use our Format Painter, which is up in your clipboard group. So I'm going to click the Format Painter, and then you'll see now my cursor has a little paintbrush next to it. So step F tells me to click and drag to select cells A20 through H21. Okay, so I'm going to go A20 through H21. When I release my clicker on my mouse, you can see that it input or added that coloring for the cells. You can also see that it changed my formatting here on the number. We're going to go back and correct that in just a moment. Okay, next step G says we're going to choose A20 and A21. Oops, there we go. A20 and A21, and we're going to choose the right alignment. So that's under your alignment group. We're just formatting and making it look a little bit nicer with these steps. Letter H says we're going to select D20 to H21. And we're going to also align that information to the right. Oh, excuse me, D21. Let me make sure I did that right. Okay, perfect. And then we're going to select, this is step I, D21 to H21. And this is basically just showing you how to increase and decrease your decimals. And so up in the number section, you have decreased decimal and increased decimal. So step J says that, or excuse me, step I says we're going to click the decrease decimal button as many times as we need to make the decimal points go away. Then step J says, okay, now increase your decimal so that you have 2 decimal positions. So we've done that step. We're all good to go. Now we're going to move on to step number 11. And we're going to go down to the bottom of our sheet where we have our sheet label tabs. And step 11A says double click the sheet 1 tab. So I'm just double clicking that. You can see it highlights it. And our instructions tell me to type rental, days, and then press enter. Then we're going to, in step C, we're going to right click on that new tab name, and we're going to choose tab color, and we're going to do the blue accent 1. And you can see that gives that tab a bit of a color there. Now we're going to select cell A1, so all the way up to the top of our worksheet. And in step 12, what we're going to do is we're going to copy a worksheet, we're going to delete some data, and we're going to change the tab color. So what we're about to do is we're going to make a whole new sheet from our existing sheet by copying. So we're going to right click the rental days tab down at the bottom. We're going to choose move or copy from our pop-up list. And then we're going to choose move to end. And then we're going to check the box, create a copy, and we're going to choose OK. And what that does, you can see, is now I have two tabs. I have my original tab, which is rental days. And then when I click on my second rental days, this is the new tab. Now it asks me in step F to rename that copied sheet as next period. So I'm going to right click, click rename, and we're going to call this one next period, and then enter. Step H says, okay, now we're going to format that tab color. So we're going to make it a different tab color. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to choose tab color, and it asks me to make it gold accent 4. Now you can see that I have two different color tabs. And then we're going to, in step I, select cells D5 to G19. So D5, and we're going all the way to G19. That's the range it wants me to select. Then I'm going to press delete. Now, what I've done is in my new sheet, my next period sheet, I just removed some data. It's still in my original sheet as I had it. So if I click on the rental days, it's as it was. If I click on the next period, that data is removed. Now, one thing I do want to point out that we saw in class today is this kind of scary looking hashtag div divided by 0 exclamation point. All that means it's a standard error because we don't have any information in these columns and you can't divide by 0 to get an average. Now, as I put info in these columns, I'm just making up numbers. You don't have to do this. Oops, I went a little too far there. You can see that it puts an average down here at the bottom as you type in that data. Perfect. Okay, we're going to move on to step J, and that says we are to select cells A4 through H4, and we're going to click the arrow with the fill button, which is our little paint bucket, and it asks us to choose the gold accent 80%, accent for 80%. I bet you can guess what we're going to do next. So in our next step, step L, it says we're going to select A20 all the way to H21. And guess what? We're going to go to the fill button and let me double check that. 1 second. Okay, perfect. Yes, that is what our instructions want us to do on step 11 is fill with that same color. So that accent for 80%. And now you can see that this tab is kind of matchy-matchy with the gold. This tab is matched with the blue. Then we're going to press Control and the Home key, or you can just select A1. So that takes our cursor back up to the top. And then we're ready to save this file because we finished up the Pause and Practice 1-2. Okay, folks, I'll be back with the Pause and Practice 1-3 in just a moment.